So, the Vancouver Canucks took a bus. They went all the way north to Whistler to get away from the main Vancouver landscape, the sushi restaurants, and the beaches. They kicked off their training camp, and what better do the Vancouver Canucks fans have to do than going out there and making speculation on the lines? Yeah, let's go, baby. That's what the Vancouver Canucks fan base does. And yeah, it's been pretty cool watching everything, seeing the videos of training camp footage of those who are up there in Whistler and also doing the reporting on location. But it has been a really interesting past few days when it comes to talking about which Vancouver Canucks are placed where in the lineups and what exactly the plan is as to who is going to start where and what Bruce has in store for the lines. We did have some word from Boudreau to kick off training camp that he actually does want to promote a little bit of chemistry here, so some of the lines that we might see here early on in training camp, if they stick and they actually feel good enough, we might see them project into the preseason and maybe even the start of the NHL regular season. But because of this sentiment, it's gotten a lot of people talking about the guys that are not included on some of these lines. Let's go over onto Brendan Batchelor's Twitter account from September 22nd, so day one of training camp, and go over 4 lines that a lot of people are pretty much pegging as NHL caliber lines, quote-unquote. You have yourselves in Group A, a line of Tanner Pearson, JT Miller, and Brock Besser. Okay, that's pretty cool. By the way, we're going to make another video, I guess, going over the lines in detail and what I feel the Canucks might actually have some success working out with, because this is just a video about one guy that I wanted to talk about here. On Group B, you have yourselves a line of Andrei Kuzmenko, Elias Pettersson, and Ilya Mikheyev. That sounds like a pretty good line. Lots of speed, lots of skill, lots of IQ, great hands as well. On Group C, you have yourselves a line of Connor Garland, Bo Horvat, and Vasily Podkolzin. Those are 3 NHL caliber guys, and I think just working together, there's a lot of two-way stability with Bo. There's a lot of grit with Garland and Podkolzin that is brought there, and of course Pods with the sniping ability he has. And then you have yourselves another line on Group C of Dakota Joshua, Jason Dickinson, and Curtis Lazar, that in which a lot of people are kind of saying, oh, that might be the 4th line, because it's a gritty, physical line that can do some defensive things as well. It's going to be pretty interesting to see where things go. But the reason we're making this video is because of those 4 lines, the ones that we had seen laid out on the Group A, B, and C stages. The one player that was not included in the top 12 was one Nils Hoglander. And this has been a pretty ongoing discussion, I feel, amongst the Canucks fans, especially on Twitter, saying, hey, Nils Hoglander, if you're going over onto Group B right here, he's skating on a line with Niels Amann, who is a recently signed Canucks prospect, a former Colorado guy that was released. His rights were free out in the open, and he was signed by Vancouver, and Linus Karlsson, the guy the Canucks got in return for Jonathan Dahlin all those years ago. Sure, it's nice to see the Swedes connecting on a pretty Swedish line. They're all Swedish, by the way, but Hoglander is playing with 2 potentially AHL caliber players on the team. And the question as to what exactly that spells for the future of Hoglander has been an ongoing debate. There have been many people going over and talking about Hoglander's rookie season and saying, yeah, he was pretty good. He had 27 points in 56 games played. And also talking about his second season, the sophomore slump that he had, wherein he only had 18 points in 60 games. Now, of course, points aren't everything and they don't tell the entire story, but in this case, I mean, Hoglander wasn't just scoring less, it also looked like he was a much less effective player this previous season than he was in the rookie season he had in the, what was it, the North Division? Yeah, I think that was the North Division, right? But Hoglander in year 2 was not as effective, he didn't have the same consistency, and there were moments throughout the season where even Bruce Boudreau said that, hey, he's a talented player, but we gotta see more out of him, yada yada yada. And because of this idea that was built around Hoglander from last season, carrying over into training camp where he's playing on a line with AHL guys, a lot of people were starting to say, wait a minute, this guy might be getting sent down. You look at the D pairings that the Vancouver Canucks have, they look pretty spread out, and they could realistically have themselves a team that has 6 regular defensemen playing and 2 defensemen sitting in the press box, because that just kind of appears to be the depth of their defense at the moment. So there might not even be room for a guy like Hoglander to be an NHL player in terms of the bodies allowed in a roster. Now, is he an NHL player? I'd go out there and say yes, but it turns out I might not be the guy that needs to go out there and say that. Because when it comes to the early showcases and performances we have seen at training camp, it appears that Nils Hoglander is doing everything in his power to show why the haters are wrong. We had been seeing a whole bunch of footage of people that are covering training camp, watching the practices and everything. We'd seen clips of Nils Hoglander going out there and doing some very good things. Here's a video of Elias Pettersson facing off against Hoglander in a 1v1, where Hoglander, he wins. Like, Petey cannot control it from Hoglander. He just wants it more. He digs under Petey because he's a smaller guy. He steals the puck from Petey and he controls it away from Petey. Like, Nils Hoglander went out there and absolutely shined in this one drill. You then had yourselves the scrimmages, where Hoglander, even though he's playing with Åman and Karlsson, who are two AHL caliber guys, they're still moving the puck around, they're finding space in deep, they're cutting into the middle and making some good plays, getting shots on. And Hoglander has really started to put himself back on the map as a guy that you should not be underrating at this training camp. Even Bruce Boudreau went out there and said this. Boudreau actually cut off the reporters before saying, let me talk about Hogs. He looks like the best player on the ice right now. And if you're a guy going out there and beating out Elias Pettersson in the way that Hoglander was in the video clip, by the way, the link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and watch it. Yeah, I can totally understand why Boudreau is saying you look like the best player on the ice right now. But of course, this isn't really just Boudreau going out there and saying, oh yeah, let's talk about a good guy that is doing some good things. No, this is also Boudreau going out there and pretty much calming the media down. I had to wait a little bit to get the words to come out of my mouth properly. But yeah, this is calming the media. This is calming the fans. This is calming everybody who's speculating that Hoglander is going to be an AHLer for 2022-2023. It's calming everybody down because it's saying, yeah, even though he's playing on a different line, he still looks really good. And it's going to give the Vancouver Canucks some pretty difficult decisions as to where they put him in the lineup. Because, as we said, I mean, you're probably not going to take out a guy like Andrei Kuzmenko or Tanner Pearson or Connor Garland to put Hoglander into the lineup. The fourth line is, I think, the line that has the more flexible options with Dakota Joshua, Dickinson, and Curtis Lazar, but you don't really want to mess with that type of chemistry, right? You don't want to go out there and put Hoglander on the checking line, because based off of everything we have seen, I mean, if he's the guy that looks the best so far at training camp, you don't want to put that guy on a checking line. You want to give him an opportunity to showcase that he still has the skills of offensive production and creativity and through-the-legs dangles and Michigan goals like he had in his rookie season. He didn't have any Michigan goals, but you get what I mean. There still is a lot of potential here with Nils Hoglander, and you can even say that he is a more well-rounded and refined player than Vasily Podkolzin, who had just made his debut last year. Meanwhile, Podkolzin is playing with Garland and Horvat, and if it stays that way for the start of the regular season, then the Canucks are going to have some pretty good young talent in the lineup. But at the end of the day, even if Nils Hoglander starts the season out in Abbotsford, there's probably going to be an injury or two to some of the Vancouver Canucks forwards that will prompt somebody in the AHL system to get called up, whether that is Hoglander or Karlsson or Arshdeep Bains or even Yushiro Hirano like we talked about yesterday. There's going to be an opportunity for Hoglander to come in here. And based off of everything he's shown off so far at camp, I wouldn't be surprised if Hoglander gets, I don't know, he starts a game with the Vancouver Canucks, let's say Game 5 or Game 7, on the third line, and he showcases to everybody, hey man, I kind of deserve to be here the entire time. Just give me a little bit more flexibility with being on the boards and some more offensive zone time, and I'll show you what I'm about. Because if he's going out there beating Elias Pettersson in drills and doing some pretty good things with Åman and Karlsson against other NHL caliber guys, I think he's a pretty good talent, man. The Vancouver Canucks just have way too many forwards right now, and it's going to be pretty difficult to see what Boudreau has in store. But talk in the comments either way all your thoughts about Nils Hoglander and the ongoing debate surrounding his name as to whether or not he's an AHL guy or an NHL guy, if he should start out in Abbotsford, or if he starts out in Vancouver, what is the line that he gets placed on? How do you move the rest of that top 9? Because I don't really feel like it's appropriate to have Hoglander on a checking line. I'd much rather give him an opportunity to get some offensive zone starts and some good shifts with some offensively minded players. I mean, no disrespect to Curtis Lazar and Dickinson and whatever, but like, yeah. Do you move Pearson to the fourth line? I don't know. Talk in the comments your thoughts about the Vancouver Canucks and Hoglander, the situation over there, and how Boudreau might work things out. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Rolls 99, and bye.